Couldn't be better.
Good.
Well, we probably could be, but I don't know if we can do anything about that.
We could feel younger.
We could feel younger.
That would help.
How do you do that?
Like John Nilges and just feel good every day.
Young at heart. We're all young at heart. All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Board of Public Works meeting, Tuesday, March 13th, 2018. We could have roll call, please.
John Vietmeyer,
Here.
Mike Ratatek,
Here.
Brad Mitchell,
Here.
Steve Richardson, Steve Struberg,
Here.
Jeff Mohesky, Josh Brinker,
Here.
Steve Solentrop,
Here.
Greg Scornia, Susan Waterman.
Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. If you had a chance to look at the minutes, any comments or changes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Thank you. Well, let's see. We have no wastewater items on the agenda, but I'm sure you've got something to say about wastewater.
Well, really, the only thing I got to say about wastewater is it's staying where it's supposed to, and it's working the way it's supposed to. So,
Let's not complain about that.
the process down to treatment plant is working good. We're pressing sludge like normal. We've been reducing a little bit of pressing just because of the weather, but it will pick up here again a little bit, and then it'll drop off again, which is normal. We're looking at possibly returning to take the sludge now that the landfill is going to be extended its life back out to the landfill. We're trying to come up with some way to mix the sludge with the dirt, either prior to it getting out to the landfill or out at the landfill area somehow so that we can use it as daily cover like we tried to do before. The problem with it before was we'd haul a load of sludge out to the landfill, we'd dump it in a pile, and then out at the landfill, they would try to then mix it with the high lift to get that 50-50 mixture that it's supposed to have. Well, it was always a nightmare. They just couldn't quite get it. So I'm working with John. We're trying to come up with some way to come up with either a mixing system or some type of system to actually mix that so that they can use it out there, because every load of sludge, every truckload of sludge is a truckload of dirt. So it's less dirt that they would have to use if we can get this to work. So we're back on trying to figure that out and get that worked out. So that's a pretty big project in itself, just trying to figure out how to get that mix 50-50, so.
Is that where all the sludge will go? We won't be taking it across the river anymore?
Yes, and that's where it all will go once we can figure out a process to make that work.
Okay.
And then once we get back to whatever's happening with the landfill and however long it's gonna last, then we will readdress what we do with the sludge at that point in time. But hauling it out to the landfill is really the best for both situations.
Right.
You know, we don't pay to have it spread over there, which isn't that bad, but we wouldn't have to pay that. The engineering wouldn't have to buy a load of dirt for every load we take out there, so it's really the best for everybody, so.
The issue that we had in the past was with the sludge mixing, it was kind of a like a slimy consistency. We really couldn't get any kind of traction with the high lifts. It was really a nightmare, to be quite honest. So we just haven't had an opportunity with the landfill proposal going to a transfer station. We really didn't look into it too much further, but now with the kind of the 180 turnaround with opening up that next cell to get that 7-8 years, we could have 7-8 years of capacity to haul sludge to the landfill again. So we just got to get that process internal. We will be able to figure this out. This will not be something we can't figure out.
Change
We
with the
will.
weather?
What's that?
Will it change with the weather?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you got moisture. Anytime you had moisture content, anything, it would definitely change, especially when you're adding clay and things. Clay's slimy in nature anyway, so we just got to figure that mixing, how that's going to happen. Like I said, I think it's a pretty minor thing to overcome.
Yeah,
We just got
not a big deal, but
we got to put the effort into it to get it done. We just haven't done that yet. It's lower on the priority list.
Any more questions on that? All right. Water. Crestview Towers getting ready to go.
Yes, there's actually a crew up there. They started yesterday. This crew, there'll be multiple crews going up there at different times. The crew that's there right now is the crew that is replacing the fill pipe on the inside of the tank. So what they're going to do is they're going to come in, they're going to take out the old pipe. They will install the new pipe. There's a new ladder climbing system that's going to be installed, so they'll install that. And then they'll be done with their part. And then from conversations yesterday, now that could change, but as of yesterday, then the interior tank crew will come in that paints the interior of the tank. They'll paint the interior of the tank and have that all done because they don't have to contain it, they don't have to do anything with it. So they'll get that done. And then another crew will show up, another welding crew will come in, and they'll go up to the top of the tank and actually weld brackets on the top of the tank that are used for the arms that come out for the scaffolding, or for the canopy. It'll be the scaffolding for the canopy. And then once that's all done, then there'll be another crew come in that will actually hang the canopy and get it all ready to be used. And then at that point, then the sandblasting crew will come in, do their work. When they're done, they'll finish up, and then the paint crew will come in and do their work. So it's kind of a staged process, but
Just out of curiosity, so they weld the brackets on the top for the whole process. When they're done, will they cut those brackets off, or those stay in place and just get painted in place?
they'll stay in place and get painted. Just there's no sense in they don't affect the tank in any way. So there's no sense taking them off, because if we would ever have to contain it again for whatever reason, the brackets are there. That's one less step that would have to be done. So we're just going to leave them up there.
Now, the pipe that's getting replaced, is that because of deterioration?
It's because the several years back we had a leak at the top of the bowl right at that pipe. So the water ran down the insulation, which is wrapped around that inner pipe, and it sat there for years. And the outside of the pipe started to rust and it started pitting. So the decision was made to go ahead and replace that pipe at the same time as of us stripping and repainting the tank, so that we don't in 3 years develop a leak in that pipe and then have to come back in and drain it again and then redo the pipe, and we can do it all at one time. So that's the reason why. It's not that it's falling apart. It's just that it's got to that point where at any given time, one of those little pockets of weld could give way, and then you develop a leak, and then you're spending time working on it. When we get it done now, it's going to be basically, in a sense, a new tank.
Makes sense.
We'll have
Is there
everything
any kind of estimation on how long it'll take to sandblast? Like,
They say that could take 2 weeks, but that is all weather-driven, because if the wind gets up over 15 miles an hour, they have to take the canopy down. So they can't do any sandblasting without the canopy up because of the lead-based coat. That's the first coat on there. So it's all going to be, if they have 2 good weeks of no wind, no weather, and they can work 7 hours, 8 hours a day, they'll have it done. But
if the weather cooperates, will the canopy stay up through the whole process?
they're thinking about it. If the weather's good, they're thinking about leaving the canopy up, all even for the painting, which that would help any chances of any paint coming off the tank while it's being rolled on and going over and hitting somebody's car or something. So they're thinking about it. It's all weather driven. So, but they're thinking about it. So that's something we'll know down the road. It's really hard to tell right now, but it is one of the thoughts. So, but everything is moving good. It seems to be the guys I talked to yesterday, the crew that's up there now, real good crew, polite, nice. They're very concerned about the neighborhood. They wanted to make sure that they do everything they can to not disrupt the neighborhood in any way. They are going to be working on Saturdays because they need to take advantage of any good days they have. So they'll be working on Saturdays, but their hours are going to be, they're looking at working in between 9 and 3. And what's up there they're using right now is a portable welder that sounds like a lawnmower. It's really, I was up there yesterday, it's no more noisier than a regular push mower. So what's going on right now is fairly quiet. So the goal is to get those guys done so the next crew can come in. So the next crew, otherwise you start getting backlogged and
Right.
things change. So
Any other questions?
Where's this committee with maybe talking about raising rates?
well, we haven't decided. We haven't started anything yet. It's internally we've talked about it, but we're kind of holding off for a little bit on that. John can jump in at any time.
Yeah, we've just been discussing it. I wouldn't foresee any kind of really in-depth review till end of the year, fourth quarter this year. So we've got some other things we need to get through. I got to get the landfill opened up, take a look at those rates. I don't want to hit everything with, one big rate jump at one time type thing. So we need to kind of look at everything individually. And I would say towards the end of the year is when we'll start reevaluating just to see where we're at.
And that's when you guys will be brought in to assist with that decision, because it is,
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to identify exactly where we are. I think Jim Briggs gave a presentation before he retired, kind of about where things were at, and to be quite honest, we haven't done too much with that, just with all the moving parts going on with all the other departments, all the other rates, things of that nature, so.
Well, we've got a lot of background data we can pull off the shelf and.
yes, we do.
Yeah, I think the review would go fairly quickly. I mean, I think a decision could be made in a reasonable amount of time, where this wouldn't be a, 2-year discussion, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
We have a bill to pay. Donahue?
Yes, Donahue and Associates. It's just another partial payment for work that was completed. Staff is recommending payment on it.
Current request, number 9, is for $500. That will leave a balance of that $33,000 contract of $17,742.65. Any
Yes.
discussion on paying $500?
I move we pay the bill.
Move to pay.
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Pay the bill.
All right.
Any other business? Sully brought up the bill, the rates. Do we have anything else?
I just want to add one more thing about the rates. With the capital improvement sales tax renewal, things of that nature, we do have some dollars that are earmarked to the water tank, to the sewer system. So it's kind of hard to do an evaluation of that till we figure out if that gets passed or not. So that's just one other item that, plays pretty heavily on what we do and how we move forth. So,
That's an awesome lead-in.
so.
Darren Lamb sent me a text this morning to see if we wanted a presentation on the half-cent sales tax, and I thought about people around here that could probably start at the back and repeat it to the front. You would have received a pamphlet in the mail this week. The Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring all the literature and things that are going out. And the committee is asking for endorsements from other organizations. And so that's something that I'd like to bring up and propose and see if we can get
I would move we
a
go ahead and
motion on
endorse
that.
the renewal of the sales tax.
I would second that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed. Thank you. We'll let Jennifer Giesecke's taking care of that kind of information, so. It's just good for a campaign to get the endorsements. And what we do and what we support is one of the recipients of that, so, like John mentioned.
Yeah,
I had a,
I just would say, just tag on to that. I mean, I think beyond us just endorsing it here this morning, I mean, I think we need to make sure that whenever we have the opportunity to discuss outside this meeting and, whether church, school, work, wherever it might be, if it comes up, I mean, obviously, we were certainly a recipient, but, as the community as a whole, I mean, I think I think just if anybody looks at that pamphlet at all, will see what a huge benefit that has been to the city, and, just think of the alternative had we not had it. So I think anything we can do to promote and beat the drum for it outside of here, we need to be doing.
exactly. Thank you. As I was looking through the minutes and the paperwork in preparation for the meeting, there's a couple things that we've talked about over the past couple of years, and I just thought maybe we could get information, if not today, in the future. But for a while there, we were tracking how many delinquent bills we had and how many shut-offs the guys had to go out and make and things of that sort. I was just curious if there was any notable progress, or is it the same as always, or?
No, since the very first time we talked about this, it is improved immensely. We've gotten more aggressive on our shut-offs. So we went from, at one point in time, we were sitting at around 200 delinquent accounts. We're now down running somewhere in the area of about 60 to 70 a month. A lot of them are repeats. Some of them on that list are people that have been shut off a couple of months back and have not had the water turned back on, whether the address is vacant or for whatever reasons. We don't go and try and figure out why the water hasn't been turned back on. That's not our responsibility. So in that number, some of them are already off that we just deal with on a monthly basis. So for that, it's gotten a lot better. We're always going to have delinquent accounts. You talk to any community, you've always got delinquent accounts. What we do now is we put 4 and 5 guys on a shut-off month. So at the end of the month, all the guys will do everything. Nothing else gets done but shut-offs. Unfortunately, that's what it takes to stay on top of it. So that's the case on that. So it's a lot better. We always try to we strive to have as few as we can, but that's, you know, there's, I guess I could always talk to Joe and have him put something in the paper at the end of the month saying, on this date, the city's gonna do delinquent account shut off and, you know, be ready or something like that. That would be the only other step we have not tried to try and take care of this problem. We used to go and hang door hangers. We used to send letters out to them. And now they get the notice on their utility bill. So we try and notify everybody. It's just, there's just some people that will just be on the delinquent account, and that's life, so.
It's an interesting thing, you know, especially during the winter, you hear about the hardship cases for fuel and electric for heating, and it just dawns on me, I wonder, and there's probably no way that we would know it right now, how many of our delinquent water bill issues are hardship cases or just the
Yeah.
habitual late?
The only way we would know, there is some accounts that are paid by some of the services that are out there, local churches and things like that. We could look that up and see what accounts were paid on that, and you could kind of use it as a number, I guess. But most of the people that are on the list they all claim to be hardship cases.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's what we hear all the time, every month. It's, you know, there's a reason behind it. But we can't just always let that go. So,
No.
you know, we have no choice. So with that, it's gotten a lot better. If you look on our monthly report, we actually had 37 delinquent accounts that we shut off this month. We started with, I think this month we started with 64, something like that. And of those 37, there were some that we couldn't get on. Curb stops are either broke or we couldn't find the curb stops or whatever the reason is, and we try to address them as time goes on. And the other ones were ones that were already off, that have been off for several months now. We've got some that I think have been off for at least 7 months. That just, for whatever reason, they have to be vacant homes, because I don't know how anybody could live in a house for 7 months without water, but.
Have we ever added the curb stop check to the transfer of ownership of property?
I don't think we have yet. That's something that we haven't figured out a way that's gonna make it, that will work. The engineering guys don't carry the tools around with them that would be able to check the curb stop when they're doing the inspections on the homes. And I really don't have a guy that I could have just sitting there waiting to get a phone call from the engineering to say, hey, come check this curb stop.
Yeah.
The curb stops are the responsibility of the property owners. They, at any time, a property owner can call us and ask us to come see if their curb stop works, and we will send somebody out to do that. It's just, to have a man waiting to do that, it's really hard to do.
What
Does it,
kind
Brian?
of problems you having with the curb stop?
The biggest one,
Oh, sorry, that was my question. as
the
well.
biggest problem we have with curb stops is that we can't find them, meaning that they've been knocked off by whatever, buried, or they just, over the years, have just literally disappeared, and we look and look and look, and we try not to spend a whole lot of time on them because we got to keep moving on with our shut-offs, and then we try to go back at time, and, you know, 2 or 3 people will go out there and try and find that curb stop, and so a lot of them we just haven't been able to find. We can find the line. A couple of them we've actually gone out in the street and dug in and put another curb stop to be able to shut that address off.
Yeah.
It's,
The problem is you can't find them when you need to shut them off because of delinquent.
yes, yes.
Yeah, you know, and
But now there's something new out there that I was going to bring up with all this, and it really kind of leads into the single-family homes that have been turned into multifamily homes.
Yeah.
Census has just come out with, they've just finished beta testing in 2 communities in South Dakota. Why they picked South Dakota, I don't know, but in South Dakota, small unit communities with 600 residents. They have a new meter out. It's called an Alley meter, A-L-L-Y. It is actually the first meter that can be remotely shut off and turned back on with our meter system. So I'm looking at getting a few of them. They're so new, we don't even know what the price is on them yet. It's going to be, of course, more than the standard meter because it actually has what they call a 3-way valve. You can turn it on, you can turn it off, or you can restrict flow. If it was in drought time, you'd hit a button and you'd restrict flow so everybody couldn't use a whole bunch of water. Anyway, we'd never do that, but it has that option. But my point is that, my point to this whole silly conversation is that we have some multifamily units that they're in renters' names. A downstairs pays their bill, B upstairs doesn't pay their bill. So we can't really jeopardize Unit A.
I thought at one time we had decided.
We
though, that-
did-
that
we did.
Either it goes in the landlord's name.
There's actually a code. We gave them 3 options. We gave them going into the landlord's name, which a lot of them, when a new unit pops up, because we don't know where they're all at, we really don't. When a new unit pops up on the list that it's a delinquent account, Beverly calls the landlord and gives them the 3 options. 9 out of 10 times they put it in their name and it's not a problem. We just have a few out there that they're just ongoing problems. It just for whatever reason, we haven't enforced the put in another curb stop because it's expensive. It's going to cost, if a landlord has to run another line, and it's going to run $2,000 to run another line for that unit. My thinking is if we buy these meters, because we have the system and the capability to use this meter, we install it in that address that's an ongoing problem, because we do have a few of them out there that are ongoing problems, then it gives us the ability to push a button upstairs, my office, John's office, wherever, at the time when that account becomes delinquent and that water is shut off. They can't do anything about it. And then when they pay their bill, we hit the button and that water's turned back
These
on.
ongoing problems, though, are they rental units?
Most of them are. There's some owners out there too. There's some owners out there too.
I guess what I'm getting at, if they're ongoing problems in their rentals, I don't understand why they would be ongoing, because if they're not gonna put in the separate
Well,
shut-off, then
what-
it needs to go in their name.
And we have a couple of them that are in their names, and every month we have to go out and put door hangers on the addresses, and then the people that live in it then call the landlord, and then the bill gets paid.
Okay.
So it's not that we don't get our money, it's just the manpower hours that it takes to get the money, to going there, hanging a door hanger, maybe twice hanging a door hanger, but we eventually get our money.
And we get a late charge?
Yeah, they get a late charge, they get a late charge on their bill, they get the $50 on-off fee if we turn them off, but the multi-units ones we usually don't turn off, so you can't really charge that fee, but they do get late charges. It doesn't seem to affect them. If we had the ability to turn the water off at the meter, that would directly affect them, without us even being there. We could turn the one off and not the other one off, if we had to, type of thing. Wouldn't be in every house, it wouldn't be at every address, it would just be, and that's kind of what this meter was designed for, more than being a mass installation of meters. It really was designed for those problem areas that you have. I do know there's one community right next to us on the other side of the river has ordered 75 of these meters for 2 of their apartment complexes that are ongoing. Their guys are there all the time shutting water off. So they're going to install them so that they don't have to send their guys out there. They can literally hit a button and turn them off, turn them back on when they pay their bill.
You'd have to dig up the meters, get down and put them into the.
Well, because ours are all inside, we just make an appointment. We go in, we change the meter out, we're done.
And Kevin, that would be, essentially, you're adding an option number 4.
It could be added as an option, that they have this option and they buy the meter.
Yeah.
I mean, that would really be up to you guys. I'm just letting you know that there is equipment out there that will enable us to do that. How we handle it would be up to you guys as the board to say we want to add, this is just me thinking that we want to add to that ordinance a fourth option, that you purchase this meter at whatever the cost is. It's installed and then you don't have to worry about it, type of thing. It's
It'd be
all up to you guys, but
it'd be an advantage to the landlord who isn't getting their payment for the water to be able to shut it off if they're not paying correctly?
As long as the water is in the tenant's name. If it's in the landlord's name, the landlord could not pay his bill, go delinquent, and then that unit would be shut off. But it would be in the landlord's name and not the tenant's name.
Yeah.
So then the landlord would be paid the penalties and the on-off fee. So yes and no, I guess,
Depends how their lease agreement's set up.
situation, but
I think it would probably be worthwhile to investigate this, find out how much these meters are.
yeah, that's the next step is I'm waiting to get responses back on the meters. Like I said, they just got done with beta testing and they just started production on making them available to customers. So there's a window here. We're just waiting to see what that final cost is. So as soon as they
If
get
you-
that to me, I'll let you.
If you were to swap out meters, so you have the existing meters today, swap them out with these new ones, can you reuse the old ones?
We can reprogram the old meter and put it back into
That's
service
good. So you're not
as a new.
out that
as a-
cost.
So we wouldn't be losing that meter that's out there. We can actually reprogram it, but
And I guess coming up with your break-even point would be pretty easy when you find out the cost of the meter. You've got multiple trips, man-hours.
yep. So it's just something out there that would assist us in this delinquent account that we have ongoing, so.
While we're talking about that, I had a situation, or we're dealing with a situation right now in irrigation lines, specifically community irrigation, kind of at the Rabbit Trail dead end. There's the subdivision at the very end was looking at putting in an irrigation system that would essentially tap the main, go underneath the street, and then loop underneath two other streets. So if you can kind of imagine, typically a service line goes from the main to the property line, then into the home. So it dead ends essentially on that property. But a community irrigation system actually will loop underneath separate portions of the street. We actually noticed it because the water lines, or the irrigation mains, were approximately 18 inches deep. They were not deep at all, which isn't shocking to me. It's an irrigation system. But as construction occurs and as that right-of-way gets utilized for future utilities, we're going to hit those irrigation lines every single time. And quite honest, I don't believe it should be up to the taxpayers to pay for fixing irrigation lines that shouldn't be in the right-of-way in the first place. Make sense? So I'm working to put together some verbiage of, how specifications of how we allow irrigation lines in right-of-way, whether they're buried 36 inches deep, whether you have to have separate taps for each one, whether we can allow irrigation heads in the actual right-of-way, because if we come in and put sidewalks in the future, I don't think it should be up to us to remove those irrigation systems. And right now, there's just there's no written agreement, no encroachment agreement into the right-of-way that are in place. So I've been researching other municipalities. St. Charles, for example, doesn't allow any portions of irrigation in the right-of-way. But as you can imagine, since we don't have sidewalks, you got 7.5 foot of grass area. Potentially, you would have really green grass, really brown grass next to the road. So we want to avoid that situation, I would think. And then there's the financial side, is I want to make this as easy as I can to get these irrigation systems in, because we do sell water, So, I will become, or Kevin and I are brainstorming about what this potential code looks like, and then hopefully we'll be having that to you guys at the next meeting.
Contractor putting them in as a doing the subdivision?
Yes, in this specific case, that's what's happening, yes. So what they're doing is, if they don't have the service lines underneath the streets, so streets get put in, there's no service lines to the other side, they're boring the streets over, okay? Getting underneath the streets, tapping the main on the, let's just say the east side of the street. Well, there is no specification really, there really is nothing in code that eliminates the need to loop underneath the street. So let's just say you go under one, you go in the backyards, and then there's another street that comes up. I'm concerned about that just being looped as one big system. You see what I'm saying? Underneath multiple streets, because where does it ever end? How would I ever locate it? It's not our job to locate private utilities.
Don't you have to get a permit to bore under the street?
Not really.
Street excavation permits to bore underneath the streets.
Oh,
That's
should.
where we
Should.
get triggered. Yes, should.
Keyword there. Yeah.
But what I've noticed in the past, or what I've been told in the past, is that there's multiple places around town that don't have that. We have no idea
They
what
probably don't have a tracer on the line either, do they?
Probably not.
Probably not, and it's during construction.
They have a power wire with that it can be used as a tracer wire, but it's not a tracer wire, no.
So we're looking, I mean, there's multiple, we could go very conservative on this and say no portions of irrigation in the right-of-way, which I think that's a little bit maybe
That's the way
too
to stop it.
conservative. You could go to where each block or each area that, no looping of the mains in, underneath streets. So for example, if you have 3 different stub streets, you go underneath one, just like a water service line. Goes underneath the street, city owns that to the curb stop, from the curb stop to the meter, and then you take off of that. Then you dead end as you go to the next stub street. Then you tap the main again, you do it again. Then you tap the main again, you do it again. The issue with that is connection fees and tap fees become very expensive. So I'm just telling you all the kind of things we're thinking about doing. Another option would be is you could tap the main. We would then have the ability to shut it off at any single time. As you get to that next street or that loop street, you could drop that down, go 36 inches below the street and come back up, which would be underneath most utility. If Charter or AT&T or any public utility were to come in, you would be below most of them. And then actually have written in code that all portions of the irrigation system are the responsibility of the property owner to relocate, move, fix, maintain, whatever. So it's written in code, so it's cut and dry. Whenever we hit that thing, I'm going to go over to the shut-off, shut it off, and keep moving. I'm not going to slow down. And if you want irrigation, you fix it.
Right.
So we're trying to, there's a financial component to this because, I believe irrigation is good for the look of the city. It's good for selling water.
Bring revenue in, so.
It's good for a lot of things, but if we make that upfront cost so high, the potential's there that they just won't put them in. So, just want to give you all a heads up about that. And then really my big concern is if we do have a line break underneath the street, I don't want to be paying for it.
Right.
City shouldn't have to, the taxpayer shouldn't have to pay for a private utility, is what it comes down to. So, just to kind of give you an update on that, we could have something in front of you next month on that.
Okay. Good.
So, right now, we're being very conservative, though. If somebody would put one in the next month, I'm not going to allow any portions in the right of way. None. Until we can come up with a better system.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions? Any other discussion? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Next meeting, Tuesday, April 10th. Thank you.
all.
Here is this for you.
Hey, we have half hour leave. This first time. we've had half hour leave.
half our pay coming.
It's the longest meeting in quite a while.
See you guys.
See you, Steve.
See you soon.
Tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.